So this second video is going to show you how to access scholarly peer-reviewed journal articles in a research capacity, not only for our first short writing assignment, your works cited page, but also in preparation for the research components for your second major assignment. Again, make sure you are reviewing that larger assignment in the prompts and rubrics attached each week so you know exactly what we're working toward. Now, peer-reviewed journal articles, these are typically written by scholars and academics. These are people who are either researching a new topic, who are building up toward a monograph, or have just a specific interest in a very limited subject. So when we're on our university library's homepage, right, we saw the books only, where we went and found books, journals only. Right, this gives you access to the journals. So again, if we look for journals here, the trick here is that if we search like the death penalty, right, we're not doing a keyword search for a subject. We are looking for journals that are actually entitled capital punishment or the death penalty. So that's why in this search result, you're only going to see two. I'm going to show you guys the way that I prefer to access, there we go, that I prefer to access journal articles. Now this of course takes experience in knowing what kind of journals you prefer to work with. So we're going to go down to databases. All right, and then again, you need to know what you're looking for, which is why this gets a little bit tricky. So when I was finishing my dissertation, as a historian, I did 16th century Dutch constitutionalism and rights of violence under clerical supervision. I worked specifically with JSTOR. JSTOR is typically it's one of the most popular, as you can see here, popular journal databases. It's primarily going to work with humanities subjects, but it also expands into some of the sciences. So again, let's follow that path. We're on the the library's homepage. Go down to databases, click on it, and scroll over to J. Boom, scroll down and click on JSTOR. Now, because we have access as a Research One University to so many exclusive and expensive databases and systems, you need to make sure that you are accessing JSTOR through the university system the way that I just showed you. If you were, for example, just working in your browser and you typed in jstor.org, you would not actually be able to access it. You'd have to sign in remotely and then link to the university. So always go to the university library's website and come in through there. So what we're looking at now is essentially a clearinghouse, right? It's a collection of different journals housed under the database JSTOR. So now we can enter our keyword. So let's do death penalty. Second keyword, we're good for that. Content I can access. We are looking for journal articles, peer-reviewed journal articles, which means that the research has gone through several years of review and feedback and resubmission. It is a huge hassle to submit and finally get a journal article published. Languages, you can choose which language if you prefer to work in a different one. And then publication date. Typically, your journal articles are going to be the most recent and hottest information, depending on what your subject is. So again, I would recommend 2005 to 2020. Right, we don't need to look for a specific journal. So for example, like when we ran the search through the journals on the homepage, you saw that specific titles came out. Now the journal is something that comes out, well, it depends, like quarterly, sometimes biannually, sometimes once a year. So again, don't worry about searching for a specific title. Depending on your field of study, as you get further along in your program, you'll definitely start to have your favorites. So expand. So we're looking at all of these limitations. You can set limits. I wouldn't worry about this now. We just want to get as broad a search result as we can. So let's go ahead and submit the results. All right, searching. Okay. So journal article. So when we look at this first one, so the title of this journal article is going to be death penalty, right? It's looking at, okay, Pliny's Law. So it depends. Again, you're going to have to spend time going through each of these articles to see what's going to be relevant. Now, the title of the journal article, is Economic and Political Weekly. So here we see it's gone through 49 volumes, 33 numbers, and this came out in 2014, and it's only 4 pages. So you get quite a bit of information when you look at each individual entry. So you can scroll down why countries choose the death penalty, right? Again, with the book that we are looking at in the previous video, right? This again looks interesting, but Just Mercy in no way addresses death penalty and its implications in Asia. Right, the American death penalty decline. You could also run debate Question of the death penalty. Okay, so let's take this one. So click on it. All right, there we go. So you can download the PDF. Remember, this is not just a one-time access. You're going to need to go back to the journal article, the YouTube video, and the scholarly book, as well as Just Mercy as you prepare to write your 4-page MWA2. So again, that's why we're creating the citation so it's easy to find. I would recommend downloading it to your computer or device so you have access to it in the future. Now, 16 pages, pretty short. All the information that we need to create the citation is going to be right here. Right now with the book, there's also create a citation. There we go. Okay, Emily. So we have last name, comma, first name. For journal articles, the title of the article goes in quotation marks. The title of the actual journal goes in italics. Now, everything that follows this, volume, number, issue, season, year, all of these things are automatically going to be provided to you. So it's followed this here. Because we're accessing this online, like we saw with the ebook, everything is provided. So it's giving us the name of the database, JSTOR, as well as the formal link, and then the date accessed. So it looks like for JSTOR, the citation that they gave you is going to be something that you can immediately put into your works cited page. The only difference here is that we're missing that hanging indentation that I showed you in week 10, where you need to go in and indent the bottom 2 lines. So we have the top line aligned, and then the next 2 lines would start right about here. So again, formatting makes a difference. If you are missing any of these details, it is not going to be great for your final grade. So again, one more example of how this gives us much more information and correct formatting than we got for the ebook, but we still have to do work when it comes to actually putting it into our works cited page. So that's nice. All right. Scrolling through here, again, this is really easy. You just click through, right? And if you start to read a book if you're reading a journal article and you're finding that the material is maybe above your head, it's too specialized, right here, we're talking a lot about Jacques Derrida and a book that maybe you haven't had experience with. He does a lot of work with prisons. So if you're reading this and you're like, well, I'm not interested, this isn't useful for me, it's okay to stop and choose a different source, right? You are not tied to your book or your journal article. However, that's why it's important that you spend time actually looking at the sources, click through it, see if it's something that is relevant to the critical themes you've chosen to address in Just Mercy, and spend some time. You're going to be using this source for the research component for MWA2. So make sure that it's useful. Remember, it is not for MWA2 an appropriate detail to include. I picked a journal article, but it wasn't relevant to this topic. That's your responsibility. So make sure that you are spending time looking at through the article, making sure that it is going to address our needs for the class. All right. So let's go through that one more time. All right. So when we're on our homepage for UNM libraries, you go to databases, go to JSTOR, my favorite. Click on it, right? And because we're accessing it through UNM, right, we don't have to worry about logging in. You can run your keyword. Let's do solitary confinement spelling, and then don't forget to limit the results. So we're looking for articles specifically. We don't want book reviews. We're not looking for books. And then set your limit. Like it can be right 2008 to 2020. Oop, that's 2010. Good. And then go ahead and run your search. Generating. Good. And then start to look through it. Like this first article looks like it's going to be super relevant to what we are looking at with Just Mercy. Of course, adding more words to the keyword search is of course going to help narrow it down. We can see here we already have over 1,600 search results. So again, take the time, go through the search results, check the date, check the content, definitely write down the works cited information, and don't forget to create that hanging indentation. As always, let me know if you have questions, but this is how you're going to access your peer-reviewed journal article for SWA1.